A cashier helped a silent intern carry supplies until the board announced him as their new CEO. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. Have you ever met someone who seemed completely ordinary, only to find out they were anything but? What if I told you that one simple act of kindness could change everything? Well, that's exactly what happened to Sarah. Sarah had always been a hardworking cashier at the local grocery store. She wasn't rich, she wasn't famous, but she had a heart of gold. Every day, she showed up early, greeted customers with a smile, and did her best to make everyone's day a little better. Life wasn't easy for her. She had bills to pay, a small apartment to take care of, and dreams that felt miles away. But despite the challenges, she never let go of her kindness. One rainy afternoon, as Sarah was unloading some supplies for the store, she noticed a young man in the corner of the aisle. He was dressed in a simple gray shirt and dark jeans, carrying a stack of boxes. His face was serious, focused, and he moved like someone who had a lot on his mind. Sarah wasn't sure if he was an employee or just another customer trying to be helpful, but she didn't mind. She approached him and, with a friendly smile, offered her assistance. "Hey there, can I help you with those?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. The man looked up, startled, then gave a slight nod. Sure," he replied quietly. As they worked together to carry the boxes, Sarah couldn't help but notice how reserved he was. He didn't say much, but his eyes seemed deep, thoughtful. He wasn't the kind of person to make small talk, but he didn't seem unfriendly either. As they finished unloading the supplies, Sarah gave him a final smile. "All right, that should be everything. Have a good day," she said, turning to head back to the register. The man nodded once more, almost as if he were acknowledging her kindness, and walked away. Little did she know, that would be the last time she would see him as a stranger. The very next day, the store's management held a company-wide meeting, something that was rare for them. Sarah didn't think much of it at first. After all, she was just a cashier. But when the CEO stepped onto the stage, Sarah's eyes widened. She recognized him instantly. It was the same man she had helped the day before. But there was something different about him now. He wasn't just a regular guy working at the store. He was the CEO of the company. The board had just announced him as their new CEO, a decision that left everyone in the room speechless. Sarah was in shock. She had no idea that the quiet, reserved man she helped carry boxes was actually the one in charge of the entire company. The next few days were a blur for Sarah. She couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. How had she managed to help the CEO without even knowing who he was? And why had he been so humble, so unassuming? It wasn't long before Sarah found herself facing another unexpected turn of events. The CEO, whose name was James, reached out to her directly, offering her a position in his team. He had noticed her kindness, her willingness to help without expecting anything in return. He saw something in her that others hadn't, and he wanted her to be a part of the company's future. At first, Sarah hesitated. She wasn't sure if she was qualified for such an opportunity, but James reassured her that he believed in her potential. And so, just like that, Sarah's life changed forever. She went from being a cashier at the grocery store to working alongside the CEO of the company. It was a dream come true, but it also made her question everything she thought she knew about success, power, and the value of kindness. As the weeks passed, Sarah thrived in her new role. She worked harder than ever, learning from James and the rest of the team. She discovered that success wasn't just about money or power. It was about the people you helped, the connections you made, and the impact you left on the world. And as for James, he never forgot the kindness that Sarah had shown him. He had been a man of great power and influence, but it was Sarah's simple act of kindness that reminded him of what really mattered in life. He wasn't just a CEO anymore. He was a mentor, a friend, and someone who truly understood the value of compassion. And so, Sarah's journey proved that no matter how small the act, kindness has the power to change everything. As Sarah settled into her new role, life at the office began to feel more like a dream than reality. She was still getting used to the idea of working with the CEO, James, the very same man she had helped carry supplies just a few weeks ago. The company was buzzing with changes, and Sarah was right in the heart of it. It was an exciting time, but also overwhelming. Her first few days were filled with meetings, brainstorming sessions, and introductions to new colleagues. Everyone seemed so confident, so self-assured, while Sarah felt like an imposter, like she didn't belong there. She kept reminding herself that this was an opportunity she couldn't let slip away. She had worked so hard to get here, even if it felt like she was still out of her depth. Her old job at the grocery store seemed like a lifetime ago. Sarah had always been the kind of person who worked quietly in the background, content to help others without needing recognition. But now, she was thrust into the spotlight. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling meeting, Sarah found herself alone in the break room, her mind racing. She had just presented an idea during the meeting, but she could feel the doubt creeping in. Was it a good idea? Was it something the team could actually use? She sat down, sipping her coffee, trying to calm her nerves when she heard footsteps behind her. It was James. "Hey, Sarah, can I talk to you for a minute?" he asked. Sarah stood up, feeling a little jittery. "Of course," she replied. James smiled, his eyes warm. "I wanted to check in with you," he began, leaning against the counter. "How are you settling in? How's everything going?" Sarah hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should admit that she felt out of place. But she didn't want to seem ungrateful, so she kept it simple. "It's going well," she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "There's a lot to learn, but I'm getting the hang of it." James nodded, but there was a look in his eyes that made Sarah feel like he saw right through her. "I know it's a lot to take in," he said, his tone thoughtful. "But I've been impressed with your work so far. You bring something fresh to the table. Don't doubt yourself." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That means a lot to me." James smiled again, his gaze softening. "I see a lot of potential in you, Sarah. I'm glad you're here." The words hit her like a wave, and for the first time since she had started at the company, she felt like maybe she really did belong. Maybe she wasn't just a cashier from the grocery store. Maybe she had something valuable to offer. Over the next few weeks, Sarah found herself becoming more involved in the company's projects. She was contributing ideas, attending strategic meetings, and even presenting her own plans. It was intimidating, but it was also exhilarating. She had always dreamed of making a difference, of working in a place where she could have an impact. And now, she was doing just that. But despite her success, there was still a part of her that felt insecure. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was just waiting for someone to find out she didn't belong there. One late evening, as she was finishing up some work, she found herself in the office lobby, waiting for the elevator. To her surprise, James appeared beside her. He had a friendly smile on his face, but there was something different about the way he was looking at her this time. "Sarah," he began, "I've been thinking about something." Sarah raised an eyebrow, curious. "What's that?" James paused for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "I've been watching you. You've grown so much in such a short time. You've got this amazing ability to connect with people, to bring ideas to life. I think you're ready for something bigger." Sarah's heart raced. "Bigger?" she echoed. James nodded. "I want to offer you a new role. You've been working so hard, and I think it's time for you to step into a leadership position." Sarah's mind was spinning. A leadership position? She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "I don't know what to say," she stammered. James chuckled softly. "You don't have to say anything yet, but I think you have what it takes. I've got a new project coming up, and I want you to be the one to lead it." Sarah was speechless. This was everything she had dreamed of and more. She had always wanted to be in charge, to have a voice, and now it seemed like that was finally going to happen. "I'll think about it," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "Thank you." James gave her an encouraging nod. "Take your time. But just know, I believe in you." That night, as Sarah walked home, she couldn't stop thinking about the conversation she had just had. She had always believed that hard work and kindness would get her somewhere, but now she was starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, she had earned more than she ever expected. Sarah had come a long way from the grocery store cashier she once was, and now she was being given the chance to lead. But as much as she wanted to embrace this new opportunity, a part of her wondered if she could truly live up to the expectations that James had set for her. Could she handle it? Could she really step into this new role and succeed? The answer wasn't clear yet, but one thing was certain. This was her chance to prove herself, and she wasn't about to let it slip away. The days following James's offer were a whirlwind for Sarah. She was both excited and terrified by the opportunity that lay before her. Being asked to lead a project was something she had always dreamed of, but now that the moment had arrived, she wondered if she could live up to the expectations that were suddenly placed on her. As Sarah prepared for her first major presentation, she spent countless hours researching, planning, and rehearsing. She couldn't afford to mess this up. This was her chance to prove that she deserved her place in the company. But as the days wore on, the pressure began to take its toll. Sarah would wake up early, work late into the night, and still feel like she wasn't ready. She found herself pacing around her apartment one evening, reviewing her notes. For the umpteenth time, when her phone buzzed, it was a message from James. "Sarah, are you ready for tomorrow? You've got this." Her heart skipped a beat. His message, simple as it was, made her feel a little less alone in this daunting journey. She sat down on her couch, taking a deep breath, and let herself relax for the first time in weeks. Maybe James was right. Maybe she really did have this. The next day arrived, and Sarah found herself standing in front of the boardroom, her palms clammy, her heart racing. The team members she had only recently met now looked at her with expectation. She could feel their eyes on her, waiting for her to speak. For a brief moment, the world seemed to blur, and she almost lost her nerve. But then, she remembered James's words. She took a deep breath and began. The first few minutes were shaky, but as Sarah continued, she found her rhythm. Her ideas flowed naturally, and the team started to engage with her proposal. Slowly, the nerves melted away, and Sarah realized something she hadn't expected. She was actually doing it. By the time the presentation ended, Sarah was exhausted but elated. She had managed to do something she had once thought impossible. She had led a successful meeting. As the team filed out of the room, Sarah found herself standing there, her heart still pounding with adrenaline. She couldn't believe she had just done that. Her thoughts were interrupted when James walked into the room. He smiled at her, his gaze full of pride. "You did great," he said, his voice warm. Sarah smiled, feeling a mix of relief and accomplishment. "Thank you," she replied, still catching her breath. "I was so nervous at the beginning, but I think it went well." James nodded. "I knew you could do it. You have something special, Sarah. Don't doubt yourself." Those words meant more to her than she could express. For the first time, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she belonged here. As Sarah walked back to her desk, she felt a shift inside her. The doubts she had carried with her for so long were starting to fade. She had made it through her first big test, and now she knew she was capable of even more. But just as things were beginning to look up, Sarah found herself facing another challenge. A few days later, during a team meeting, one of the senior managers, Mike, spoke up, questioning the viability of Sarah's project. "I think we need to rethink some of the ideas you've presented, Sarah," Mike said, his tone more critical than she had anticipated. "There are some risks here that we might not be ready to take on." Sarah's confidence wavered for a moment, but she quickly composed herself. "I understand your concerns, Mike," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "But I've done the research, and I truly believe this is the best course of action. I'm willing to work with you to find a solution." She could feel her heart pounding in her chest as she made her case, but she refused to back down. The room was silent for a long moment before Mike nodded. "All right, let's see where this goes." The tension in the air lifted, and Sarah felt a surge of relief. The team had accepted her ideas. She was starting to gain their respect. Later that evening, as she sat at her desk, Sarah reflected on how far she had come. She thought about the cashier at the grocery store, the woman who had been content to help others without expecting anything in return. And now, here she was, leading a team and earning the trust of some of the most powerful people in the company. It was a surreal feeling, but it was also incredibly fulfilling. Just then, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from James. "I'm proud of you, Sarah. Keep pushing. You're on the right track." Sarah smiled as she read his words. She knew that her journey wasn't over yet, but for the first time, she truly believed that she was capable of achieving everything she had ever dreamed of. As Sarah settled into her new role, the challenges only seemed to grow. She had gained the trust of her team, and her ideas were now being taken seriously. But there was still a part of her that couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't quite ready for everything that was being asked of her. The pressure was starting to build. The project she was leading was demanding more time and effort than she had anticipated. Late nights in the office had become routine, and while her friends and family offered encouragement, Sarah still felt like an imposter. She wondered if her success had been a fluke, if the people around her would one day realize she wasn't cut out for the job. Despite the doubt creeping in, she pushed forward. Every meeting felt like a test, every decision a potential misstep. It was hard to tell if the exhaustion was from the work or the constant battle with self-doubt. Then came the next big hurdle. One afternoon, just as Sarah was wrapping up a meeting, she received an unexpected phone call. It was from James. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about something important." His voice was calm but serious. "Can you come by my office?" Sarah's heart skipped a beat. What could this be about? She had just finished presenting her progress on the project, and everything had seemed to go well. Was there a problem? She walked to James's office, trying to calm the anxiety swirling in her stomach. When she entered, James motioned for her to sit. There was a heavy silence between them before he spoke. "I've been watching your work closely, Sarah," he began, his eyes locked onto hers. "And I have to say, I'm impressed with how you've handled yourself. But I've also noticed something. You've been pushing yourself too hard. You're burning out." Sarah's mind raced. "I'm fine," she replied quickly, though her voice betrayed the exhaustion she had been trying to hide. "I just want to make sure the project is successful." James shook his head gently. "I know you do, but that's not the only thing that matters here. You've been taking on too much, and I'm worried about you. I don't want you to lose yourself in the work. You're more than just a project leader." His words hit her harder than she expected. For the first time in a long while, she realized that in her pursuit of success, she had been ignoring everything else: the balance, the well-being, and most importantly, her own peace of mind. James leaned forward, his expression softening. "Sarah, you don't have to do this alone. You're part of a team, and we're here to support you. I'm not just talking about your work. I'm talking about you as a person. You don't need to prove anything to anyone." It was the first time anyone had said that to her. For so long, Sarah had been determined to show she could handle everything herself, that she didn't need help. But now, with James's words hanging in the air, she understood. She didn't have to carry the weight of it all alone. She had always been the one to take on everything, but maybe it was time to let others in, to trust the people around her. After the conversation with James, Sarah took some time to reflect. The next few days, she tried to find more balance. She set clearer boundaries between work and personal time, even taking some much-needed time off to clear her mind. It wasn't easy, but slowly, she began to feel the weight lifting. She found herself laughing again, talking to her friends more, and even taking up old hobbies that she had abandoned in the chaos of her career. The road ahead still wasn't perfect, but for the first time in a long time, Sarah felt like she was moving forward with more than just determination. She was moving forward with peace. One evening, as Sarah was enjoying a quiet dinner at home, her phone buzzed with another message from James. "I've got a new project in mind," the message read, "and I want you to lead it. But this time, we'll take it one step at a time. Let me know when you're ready." Sarah smiled to herself, feeling a wave of gratitude. She wasn't alone in this journey anymore. She had James, her team, and herself. She was ready to face whatever came next, not because she had to, but because she now knew that she could. As she placed her phone down and took another bite of her dinner, Sarah realized that she wasn't just succeeding in her career, she was learning to thrive in her life. And that was more than enough. The weeks following Sarah's decision to find a better work-life balance were a mix of relief and new challenges. She had learned to trust her team more, and with that trust came the realization that she was no longer alone in the journey. The days were still filled with meetings, deadlines, and long hours, but now they felt more manageable. James had been supportive, constantly encouraging her to take breaks, prioritize her well-being, and, most importantly, believe in herself. It was a turning point for Sarah. She wasn't just working to prove herself anymore. She was working because she had a genuine passion for what she was doing. The project she was leading was still in full swing, and now, with a bit more confidence and a clearer mind, Sarah felt ready for whatever came next. One afternoon, she found herself sitting in a large meeting room with her team, preparing for a final presentation to the company's board. The stakes were higher than ever. The project had the potential to change the direction of the company, and Sarah was tasked with showing the board just how important it was. As she reviewed her notes for the last time, she felt a surge of anxiety. It had been a long road to get here, and she couldn't afford to mess it up now. But then, just as her nerves started to get the better of her, she felt a tap on her shoulder. It was James, standing there with a calm smile on his face. "Sarah, remember what we talked about," he said quietly. "You've got this. You've already done the hard work. Just trust yourself." His words were a reminder of how far she had come. She nodded, taking a deep breath, and followed him to the boardroom. When she entered the room, the board members were already seated, their faces serious as they waited for her to begin. Sarah felt a momentary wave of panic wash over her, but she shook it off. She had been here before. She could do this. She began her presentation, speaking confidently, articulating her vision for the project and how it could revolutionize the company's future. As she spoke, she could see the board members leaning in, listening intently to every word. She was no longer the nervous cashier from the grocery store. She was Sarah, the leader of a major project, someone whose ideas could change everything. When the presentation ended, there was a long silence in the room. Sarah stood there, holding her breath, waiting for the board's response. Finally, one of the senior board members, Mr. Thompson, broke the silence. "This is exactly what we've been looking for," he said, nodding approvingly. "Your vision is bold, and your execution has been impressive. We're in." Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had done it. The board had approved the project. It was a huge win for her and her team. As the meeting wrapped up and the board members filed out of the room, James gave her a proud smile. "I knew you had it in you," he said, his voice full of admiration. "This is just the beginning." Sarah couldn't help but smile in return. For the first time, she felt like she truly belonged in this world. She had started at the bottom, working as a cashier, unsure of her future. But now, she had proven that she was capable of so much more. That evening, as she sat at home reflecting on the day's success, Sarah realized something important. It wasn't just about the project or the approval from the board, it was about the journey. She had learned to trust herself, to lean on others when needed, and to find balance in her life. And that, more than anything, was her true victory. The next morning, as Sarah walked into the office, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just a member of the team anymore. She was a leader, someone who had earned her place. And as she sat down at her desk, ready to take on the next challenge, she knew that this was only the beginning of what she was capable of achieving. The days following Sarah's big win with the board approval were filled with excitement, but they also brought new challenges. The project was officially greenlit, and now it was time to execute. Sarah was no longer just part of the team, she was leading the charge. But as the pressure mounted, so did her self-doubt. She had managed to gain the board's approval, but now the real work began, and Sarah couldn't shake the fear that she might not be enough to bring it to fruition. Her days were filled with constant meetings, phone calls, and brainstorming sessions. There was no time for rest, no time to breathe. Sarah found herself staying at the office well into the evening, her mind racing with ideas and concerns. She couldn't afford to let anything slip through the cracks. It was late one night when James called. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Can you meet me in my office in the morning?" Sarah felt a knot form in her stomach. Was something wrong? Had there been a mistake? The next morning, she walked into James's office, her mind buzzing with questions. He motioned for her to sit and offered her a coffee. "I've been thinking a lot about how you've been handling everything," James began, studying her carefully. "I know you've been working incredibly hard, and I'm proud of you. But I also see that you're overwhelmed." Sarah hesitated, then spoke. "I can handle it, James. I just want to make sure this project succeeds." James smiled, his eyes kind. "I know you do, but you don't have to do it alone. I've been where you are. I've carried everything on my shoulders, trying to prove I could do it all. But that's not the way to succeed. It's not just about working harder. It's about working smarter and knowing when to ask for help." Sarah felt the weight of his words. She had always prided herself on being self-reliant, on doing everything herself. But now, she realized James was right. She didn't have to carry the load alone. "I'm here for you, Sarah," James continued, leaning forward. "I believe in you. But you need to believe in yourself too. And you need to trust the team around you." The next few days were a turning point for Sarah. She started delegating tasks, reaching out to her team for help, and trusting their expertise. It wasn't easy. She had spent so much time trying to prove she could do it all that it felt unnatural to let go. But slowly, she began to see the results. The team was stronger than she had imagined. Their support, their ideas, and their dedication to the project made everything come together in ways Sarah hadn't expected. As the weeks passed, Sarah's confidence grew. The project was progressing smoothly, and she no longer felt the crushing weight of responsibility on her alone. She learned that leadership wasn't about doing everything by yourself. It was about empowering others, trusting them, and working together as a team. One evening, after a particularly successful presentation to the board, Sarah found herself standing in the elevator, heading to the parking garage. As the doors opened on the ground floor, she was surprised to see James standing there, waiting for her. He looked up and smiled. "You did great today," he said. "I'm proud of you." Sarah smiled back, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, James. I don't think I could have done it without you." James chuckled softly. "You're stronger than you think, Sarah. I knew you had it in you all along. I just had to remind you of what you're capable of." As they walked out to the parking lot together, Sarah felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in months. The road ahead was still long, but she knew she was no longer walking it alone. She had a team, she had support, and most importantly, she had the belief in herself that she had been missing for so long. That night, as she sat at her kitchen table, reflecting on everything she had accomplished, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude. She had started at the grocery store, unsure of her future. Now, she was leading a major project at one of the top companies in the country. And while the journey had been challenging, it had also been incredibly rewarding. She had found not just success, but the strength within herself to keep going, no matter how difficult the path. And as she looked ahead to the future, Sarah knew that the best was yet to come. The success Sarah had achieved in the past months was undeniable, but the challenges were far from over. Despite her newfound confidence and the support of her team, she faced the harsh reality that leadership wasn't just about executing well. It was also about managing people, navigating office politics, and maintaining the delicate balance between ambition and collaboration. It was a cold Friday afternoon when Sarah received an unexpected email from Mike, the senior manager who had once doubted her project. His email was brief, but it was enough to send a wave of anxiety rushing through her. "Sarah, we need to talk. I'm afraid there are some issues that we need to address. Can you meet with me tomorrow?" Sarah's stomach churned. She had worked so hard to prove herself to the team, and now it seemed like all her efforts were being called into question. Was Mike upset about the project's progress? Did he think she wasn't ready for this level of responsibility? The uncertainty gnawed at her all evening, and she barely slept that night. The next morning, Sarah arrived early at the office, determined to face whatever challenge lay ahead. As she walked to Mike's office, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. She took a deep breath before knocking on his door. "Come in," Mike called. Sarah entered, trying to remain composed. Mike was sitting at his desk, his face serious. He motioned for her to sit down. "I wanted to talk to you about something important," he began, his tone steady. "I've been observing the project closely, and I have to admit, I've been impressed. Your leadership has made a noticeable difference. I wasn't sure how things would go at first, but you've really turned things around." Sarah blinked in surprise. This wasn't what she had expected. I appreciate that, Mike," she said cautiously. "But you mentioned there were issues? What do you think needs to be improved?" Mike leaned forward, his expression softening. "Actually, the issues aren't with you or your work. The problem is with some of the team members. I've noticed some tension between a few of them, and I think we need to address it before it becomes a bigger issue. Leadership isn't just about managing the project, it's about managing the people involved. And that means making sure everyone is on the same page and working together." Sarah felt a sense of relief wash over her. It wasn't her leadership that was in question, it was the dynamics within the team. Still, the pressure to manage the team's relationships weighed heavily on her. "I understand," Sarah said. "I'll address it with them. But it's been hard to juggle everything. I've been so focused on the project itself that I haven't been as involved in team dynamics as I should be." Mike nodded. "I get it. That's a common challenge for new leaders. But you have a great team, Sarah. They respect you, and they want to succeed with you. It's just about getting them to communicate better with each other. You're doing great, but this is the next step in your growth as a leader." Sarah took in his words, feeling both a sense of responsibility and gratitude. Mike was right. Managing people was a different skill set, and it was something she hadn't fully mastered yet. But she was determined to learn. Over the next few weeks, Sarah took Mike's advice to heart. She scheduled one-on-one meetings with each of the team members, taking the time to listen to their concerns and help resolve any conflicts. It wasn't easy. Some of the issues were deeply personal, and Sarah had to navigate them carefully. But she stayed patient, empathetic, and focused on her goal, building a cohesive, motivated team. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere within the team began to shift. The tension eased, and collaboration flourished. The project continued to move forward, and Sarah felt more confident than ever in her role as a leader. She realized that leadership wasn't just about making the right decisions. It was about being there for your team, supporting them through challenges, and helping them grow alongside you. One evening, after a particularly productive team meeting, Sarah found herself sitting alone at her desk, reflecting on how far she had come. She had faced so many obstacles, self-doubt, external criticism, and team conflict, but she had overcome them all. And now, for the first time, she felt truly at peace with her leadership journey. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a message from James. "Great work today. You're handling everything like a pro. Keep it up." Sarah smiled, feeling a sense of pride swell inside her. She wasn't just succeeding at work. She was growing as a person, as a leader, and as someone who had learned the true meaning of teamwork. As she looked out of her office window, watching the sun set over the city, Sarah felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had come so far from the nervous cashier at the grocery store. She had found her voice, her purpose, and her strength. And as the days continued to unfold, Sarah knew that her journey was far from over. It was just beginning. The days after Sarah's team began to find their stride were some of the most fulfilling of her career. The project was well on its way to success, and with the team functioning better than ever, Sarah could finally breathe a little easier. She had grown into the role of leader in ways she hadn't thought possible. The once overwhelming pressure had transformed into confidence. She knew that she had not only proven herself, but had done so with the help of the people around her. However, just when everything seemed to be falling into place, Sarah faced a new challenge that would test everything she had learned so far. One Thursday afternoon, as Sarah was reviewing her project updates in the office, she received an urgent call from James. "Sarah, we need to talk." "Something's come up," he said, his voice serious. "Can you come to my office as soon as possible?" Her stomach dropped. She had no idea what this was about, but the tone of his voice made it clear that it wasn't good news. Sarah quickly made her way to James's office, trying to calm her racing thoughts. When she walked in, James was sitting at his desk, his face unreadable. "Sit down," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Sarah sat down, her mind swirling with questions. "What's going on, James?" she asked, her voice steady despite the anxiety that was bubbling up inside. James took a deep breath before speaking. "There's been an issue with the project. I've just found out that one of the suppliers we're working with has been underperforming, and the delays are affecting our timeline." Sarah's heart sank. She had worked so hard to keep everything on track, and now it seemed like one problem was threatening to derail all of it. "How bad is it?" she asked, trying to keep her emotions in check. James leaned forward, his expression serious. "We're looking at a potential 2-week delay if we don't address this immediately. And if we don't fix it, we could lose the supplier, which would set us back even further." The news hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. A 2-week delay was catastrophic, especially when they were already so close to meeting their goals. "What can we do?" she asked, her mind racing with potential solutions. James studied her for a moment before speaking. "I know you've been working tirelessly on this, and I'm not going to put this all on you. But I need you to step up and find a solution. You've built a great team, and now is the time to lead them through this." His words hit her hard. It wasn't just about the project anymore. It was about the people she had promised to support. Sarah felt a surge of determination rise within her. She had led them this far, and she wasn't about to let a setback take it all away. "I'll handle it," Sarah said, her voice firm. "I'll pull the team together and make sure we stay on track." James nodded, a look of approval in his eyes. "I knew you would. Let me know if you need anything." As Sarah left James's office, the weight of the situation pressed heavily on her shoulders. This wasn't just a small hiccup. It was a major obstacle that could change everything. But for the first time, Sarah felt ready to face it. She wasn't going to let this challenge defeat her. She would use everything she had learned to find a solution. Over the next few days, Sarah called an emergency meeting with her team. They gathered in the conference room, their faces serious as she explained the situation. "We've hit a setback," she began. "One of our suppliers is causing delays, and if we don't act fast, we could lose 2 weeks. I need all of you on board to help figure this out." The room was quiet for a moment, but then Mike, the senior manager, spoke up. "We've been through worse. We just need to stay focused and communicate better. We can solve this." Sarah nodded, feeling a sense of relief. Her team wasn't panicking. They were already thinking about solutions. And just like that, the team began brainstorming, coming up with contingency plans, finding new suppliers, and reworking timelines. It wasn't easy, but they worked late into the night, determined to get the project back on track. Sarah's role as a leader had never been more critical, but she found strength in the way her team rallied together. By the end of the week, they had found a solution that not only minimized the delay, but also strengthened their partnerships with other suppliers. The project was back on track, and the crisis was averted. But what stood out the most to Sarah was the way her team had come together when it mattered most. They didn't let the setback define them. They took charge and found a way to keep moving forward. As Sarah reflected on the experience, she realized how far she had come. She had started as someone unsure of her own abilities, but now, she was leading a team through challenges with confidence and resilience. The road ahead would always have its obstacles, but Sarah knew one thing for certain. She was ready for whatever came next. And so, she continued on her journey, knowing that no matter what the future held, she had the strength to face it head-on. The months passed, and the project Sarah had led finally reached its successful completion. The company's transformation, largely due to the innovative project she had spearheaded, was now evident to everyone, from the board members to the employees. The positive feedback came pouring in, but for Sarah, the greatest achievement wasn't the recognition or the praise, it was the journey. The struggles, the setbacks, the moments of self-doubt, and the eventual triumphs had shaped her in ways she hadn't expected. She had grown, not just professionally, but personally. The quiet cashier from the grocery store had evolved into a confident leader who knew her worth and the power of teamwork. As the company celebrated the success of the project with a grand gala, Sarah found herself standing in the back of the room, watching the festivities. The ballroom was filled with laughter, music, and congratulations. She had worked hard to get to this point, but tonight, she allowed herself to take a step back and appreciate how far she had come. As she watched James, who had been a mentor to her from the start, raise a toast to the team's success, she felt a sense of pride swell inside her. She had proven herself, not just to the company, but to herself. It was a bittersweet moment. She thought about the person she had been before this journey, unsure, hesitant, and afraid of failure. Now, standing here, with so many people who had believed in her, she realized how much she had accomplished. She had not only led a team to success, but she had also transformed her own life. After the toast, James approached her with a smile. "You did it, Sarah," he said, his voice full of pride. "You led this company to something extraordinary." Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of his words. "It wasn't just me. It was everyone," she replied. "But I couldn't have done it without you. You taught me what true leadership is." James chuckled, shaking his head. "You were always a leader. You just had to see it for yourself." His words stayed with her long after the gala had ended. It was true. She had always been capable. She had just needed the right opportunities, the right support, and the belief in herself to realize it. As Sarah left the event that night, she felt a sense of peace that had eluded her for so long. She wasn't the same person who had walked into that first meeting, unsure and hesitant. She was Sarah, a leader in her own right. The road ahead was still filled with challenges, but now she knew that she had the strength to face them. As she stepped into the cool night air, Sarah looked up at the stars above, a sense of calm washing over her. She had come so far, but this was just the beginning. She had not only changed the company, but had also changed her own life. And for the first time, she was truly ready to embrace the future, whatever it held. In this inspiring journey of personal growth and transformation, Sarah, a hardworking cashier, rises through the ranks of a major corporation to become a leader, navigating challenges and overcoming self-doubt. Her story, filled with determination and resilience, mirrors many aspects of the most powerful millionaire stories, where a person's humble beginnings and inner strength shape their destiny. With the guidance of a mentor and the unwavering support of her team, Sarah learns to balance ambition with empathy, ultimately succeeding in the face of adversity. As Sarah confronts setbacks, including a potential delay in her project and navigating team dynamics, she rises above them, proving that even the most unexpected leaders can thrive in the competitive world of business. Through teamwork, perseverance, and self-belief, Sarah learns the value of leadership and what it truly means to be successful in both her career and personal life. Just like in other millionaire stories, she realizes that true success is not just about wealth, but about the journey, the lessons learned, and the people you help along the way. Sarah's story is a testament to the power of self-discovery and the importance of believing in oneself, making it one of the most motivating millionaire stories to date. Her experience shows that anyone, regardless of their past, can achieve greatness if they embrace their potential and never give up. Sarah's journey is not just about reaching the top of the corporate ladder. It's about the growth, the transformation, and the lasting impact she makes in the lives of others. This story, much like other millionaire stories, teaches us that success is not an overnight achievement, but a process filled with perseverance, challenges, and the unwavering belief that we are capable of more than we ever imagined.